What is up, guys? Welcome back to Early Access Gamer. May just dropped a massive bomb on the PlayStation Store, and your wallet is about to thank me. We're breaking down the 20 best free titles you can play right now, including a legendary arcade shooter reimagined with motion controls that will leave you absolutely floored. Let's dive into the list. Kicking off our countdown at number 20 is the reigning champion of football simulations, EA Sports FC 26. Before anyone rushes the comments, the full game that dropped back in September 2025 is a paid premium title. However, the FC 26 showcase demo is completely free on the PlayStation Store, letting you hit the pitch in kickoff and clubs modes without spending a dime. I usually roll my eyes at annual sports updates, but the mechanical tweaks here genuinely change the locker room vibe. They split the gameplay into two distinct presets. You get competitive for lightning fast responsiveness, and authentic, which slows the physics down for a realistic match pace. Adding the new dynamic dribbling system means the ball adapts to your touch intervals based on your actual skill level. The Frostbite engine keeps the action locked at 60 frames per second with dynamic resolution scaling. The main catch is the showcase heavily restricts access, completely locking you out of career mode. Dropping in at number 19 is Wuchang Fallen Feathers, a gritty Ming Dynasty Souls-like that is free for PlayStation Plus subscribers this month. I typically brace myself for disappointment when a game has a rough initial launch, but the redemption arc here is phenomenal. When it originally dropped back on July 24, 2025, performance issues dragged it down. Now, thanks to extensive post-launch patching and a gorgeous PS5 Pro enhanced update, it is a brilliantly stable, polished dark fantasy experience. You spend your time battling mutated horrors using ancient firearms and a deeply satisfying combat evolution system. By sacrificing a resource called Red Mercury, you develop and master new techniques, letting you totally bend the flow of combat to fit your personal playstyle. The real star of the show is the Mausolite level design. If you crave that classic From Software architectural brilliance, you will absolutely lose yourself exploring this twisted version of ancient China. It easily stands out as one of the best Souls-likes of the past year. Landing at number 18, we are stepping into a wildly unique aesthetic with Nine Souls. Usually punishing two-dimensional platformers test my patience, but wrapping intense Sekiro-style combat in a gorgeous hand-drawn Tau Punk world is an irresistible combination. Originally dropping on PlayStation back in November 2024, this absolute must-play is currently free in the May 2026 PlayStation Plus monthly games lineup. You have until June 1st to claim it, and you really should. The combat loop here is a masterclass in risk and reward, focusing heavily on precise parrying. Every time you successfully deflect an incoming attack, you build up a resource called Chi. Once you have enough, you can dash right through your enemies to slap a Taoist talisman on their backs and detonate it for massive damage. Taking a purely defensive maneuver and turning it into a hyper-aggressive rhythmic explosion feels phenomenal. The community widely praises the flawless controls and challenging difficulty, making this a top-tier action experience. Rolling into number 17, we must clear the air immediately. Star Wars Outlaws is a premium paid game that launched in August 2024, but I am including it here because you can grab the free demo right now. I normally hate bending the rules for lists like this, but the scoundrel fantasy is incredibly intoxicating when it actually clicks. Playing as K-Vest, the true highlight is your creature companion, Nyx. Directing this little guy to steal items, trigger hazards, or distract guards while you maintain complete stealth is an absolute blast. Recent updates even let you fire your blaster while tearing across the open world on your speeder bike, massively improving the overall combat flow. You absolutely must temper your performance expectations, however. Forced ray tracing on the PS5 ruins optimization, causing aggressive dynamic resolution, a noticeably muddy image, and frame rates frequently dipping below 60. It is undeniably janky, but testing out this galactic criminal underworld through the free trial is entirely risk-free. Taking the 16th spot is Red Dead Redemption 2. You could strip away Arthur Morgan's legendary narrative and the sprawling Red Dead Online mode, and I would still spend dozens of hours just messing with the physics engine. The unparalleled attention to detail means fire doesn't just play a looped animation, it actively consumes materials like logs in real time. You can even shoot oil wagons to create dynamic, spreading fire trails. Since dropping way back on October 26th, 2018, this Western remains an absolute masterclass in open world design. Now that it is back in the catalog, you have zero excuse to skip it, but there is a massive frustrating catch. Playing on a PlayStation 5 means relying entirely on backward compatibility. Without any official next-gen update, the game is hard-locked at 30 frames per second using the original PlayStation 4 resolution. The community has been begging for a 60 FPS and 4K patch for years, making this missing feature a major pain point. Coming in at number 15 is a heavy hitter for the horror fans. I absolutely eat up games that take innocent childhood premises and twist them into pure nightmare fuel. Bramble the Mountain King originally launched back in April 2023, but it lands in the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium Game Catalog on May 19th, 2026. You play as a young boy venturing into a dark Nordic folklore-inspired world to rescue his sister. The gameplay loop channels that Little Nightmares energy, balancing tense stealth and platforming with some genuinely grotesque boss encounters. The brilliant hook here is the Spark of Courage mechanic. Instead of handing you a typical weapon, you use this magical fragment of light to navigate the unsettling environments and actually weaken the terrifying creatures hunting you down. The community praises its flawless technical performance, letting you fully absorb the masterclass in storytelling and dreadful atmosphere. If you have an active extra or premium subscription, this grim fairy tale is an absolute must-play later this week. Hitting spot 14 is the Thaumaturge. Sometimes you just want an experience that respects your patience and lets you soak in a gritty atmosphere rather than throwing explosions at your face every 5 seconds. This narrative-driven RPG drops you into early 20th century Warsaw, and it absolutely nails that historical fantasy vibe. You play a mystic who can summon and control demons called Saladars to fight in tactical turn-based battles. The real star of the show is the perception mechanic. You literally snap your fingers to enter a heightened state, letting you track clues and read the deep emotional baggage of the NPCs around you to manipulate dialogue and solve mysteries. Just a heads up, this is definitely a slow burn. The combat can feel a bit repetitive after a while, meaning you must prepare for a heavy focus on investigation over constant action. Originally launched in December 2024, it joins the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium catalogs next week on May 19th. Down at number 13 is Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. Before you blow up the comments pointing out its $40 price tag, hear me out. It recently hit the PS Plus Extra tier, making it a completely free weekend binge for subscribers. I usually bounce off grueling action RPGs, but they absolutely nailed the rhythm here by forcing extreme aggression. Instead of cowering behind a shield, you must land melee strikes simply to recharge your gunpowder ammo, flipping the script on traditional ranged combat. Combine that with a brilliant reputation system where you risk losing your currency multiplier if you take damage before banking it at a checkpoint, and the tension constantly spikes. Releasing back in July 2024, this mid-budget Souls-Lite runs smoothly at 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5 via Unreal Engine 4. It might not boast bleeding-edge graphics, but as pure AA comfort food where humanity throws down against literal gods, it hits the right spot. Claiming the number 12 spot is pure point-and-click perfection with Broken Sword Shadows of the Templar Reforged. I usually steer clear of punishing 90s adventure logic, but the modern upgrades here completely won me over. Before you hit download, keep in mind this is not a traditional free-to-play game, but it is hitting the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium Game Catalog in just a few days on May 19th. Originally dropping back in September 2024, the community has rightfully crowned this a gold standard remaster. The absolute best feature is the graphics toggle. At the click of a button, you can seamlessly hot swap between the original 1996 pixel art and the stunning fully remastered 4K visuals. If you are worried about getting stuck, the new story mode provides automatic hints and strips out obsolete interactions to make everything incredibly approachable. It runs beautifully across both the PS4 and PS5, since it is not hardware intensive, making it an absolute must-play mystery. Down at number 11, we have Enotria: The Last Song. Yes, I know this is technically a $40 premium title, but it just hit the PS Plus Extra catalog this May, meaning active subscribers can download it right now for exactly 0 extra cents. When it originally launched back in September 2024, it definitely caught some heat. A chunk of the community found the deep RPG mechanics unapproachable and called the core combat slightly clunky. Usually, a clunky Souls-like is an immediate skip for me, but the sheer vibe and flexibility here completely saved the experience. Instead of dreary Gothic castles, you explore this gorgeous, sun-drenched, Italian-inspired fantasy world. What really kept me hooked is the brilliant loadout system. You can swap between 3 completely different character builds on the fly, just change your mask, and you instantly swap your weapons, perks, and spells without needing to trudge back to a bonfire to respec. You become a walking Swiss Army knife of pain, which makes navigating those rougher combat edges entirely worth your time. Breaking into the top 10, we are taking a massive trip down memory lane. Nothing will ever perfectly replace the chunky plastic magic of wielding an actual arcade gun con, but seeing how this port handles that hardware gap is fascinating. Time Crisis officially blasts onto the PlayStation Plus Premium Classics catalog in just a few days on May 19th. Since we lack a physical light gun peripheral, this release relies entirely on the DualSense controller to deliver full gyro aiming support. You pull the trigger by pressing the circle button, dive into cover to reload by hitting R1, and tap triangle to instantly recenter your gyro tracking whenever your aim drifts during an intense firefight. I know hardcore arcade veterans have been highly skeptical about playing this without a proper plastic gun in their hands, but leaning into precise motion controls is undeniably the smartest compromise to bring this absolute legend to modern hardware. Crashing into the number 9 spot is NTE, or Neverness to Everness. Usually, massive supernatural action RPGs pull me in strictly for the flashy combat, but what actually glued me to the screen here were the wildlife simulation elements. You are let loose in the urban open world of Hetero to hunt anomalies using a slick hack-and-slash combat system. Between battles, though, you can buy apartments, manage your own cafe, and literally drive cars and motorcycles around the city. They even swapped out the standard character gacha mechanics for a unique fare system where your pulls are determined by a board game-style dice roll. The game just launched globally a couple of weeks ago on April 29th, and it is running incredibly stable on Unreal Engine 5 for the PlayStation 5 without any major performance hiccups. Just keep your expectations in check regarding the narrative. The main story is severely underdeveloped right now, meaning you hit the content cap fast and the experience devolves into a repetitive daily grind. Crashing into the number 8 spot is Starward. When a developer takes the chaotic DNA of a classic Gundam vs. arcade cabinet and wraps it in a slick free-to-play package, my weekends absolutely vanish. Dropping onto PlayStation 5 just last month, this high-intensity 2 vs. 2 arena brawler featuring mecha girls is a massive adrenaline rush. The real genius here is the cost system. You cannot just stack overpowered characters. Instead, you must strategically balance your team by allocating combat power across 3.0, 2.5, 2.0, and 1.5 tiers. It forces deep tactical planning before you even launch into those fast-paced aerial maneuvers. The menus might give off a slight mobile port vibe, but once you are fighting, you will forget all about it. Running at crisp 4K resolution with a buttery 120 frames per second performance mode, the high-speed dodging feels incredibly precise. It is a highly competent, ridiculously fast fighter that costs you nothing to dominate. Number 7 is the juggernaut that refuses to quit. You might think the novelty of mashing up every pop culture franchise on the planet would eventually wear thin, but the sheer absurdity of this sandbox keeps dragging me right back in. Fortnite has been dominating since late 2017, transforming from a simple battle royale into a massive rotating metaverse of creative modes. Just in early May, we got 3 official Star Wars themed games dropping into the mix with Droid Tycoon, Escape Vader, and Galactic Siege. But the real kicker is happening tomorrow, May 14th. Epic is launching a massive Overwatch collaboration. We are getting playable skins for D.Va, Genji, Tracer, and Mercy, plus new weapons, emotes, and actual Overwatch map elements bleeding straight into the island. The definitive battle royale is a constantly evolving monster of live events and ridiculous crossovers, and diving into the chaos will not cost you a single dime. Dropping in at number 6 is a titan of the genre. It takes a lot for a battle royale to keep my attention for 7 years, but the sheer momentum of sliding down a hill and wiping a squad in Apex Legends is a rush you just cannot fake. Since releasing on February 4th, 2019, this hero shooter has dominated with fluid movement and tight gunplay. Season 29, Overclock, just launched on May 5th, bringing an absolute game changer called Deathbox Respawns. Now, when your team brings you back, any unlooted weapons and gear from your Deathbox automatically go straight into your inventory. Re-gearing mid-fight is basically instant. It is a brilliant update, though the rollout is a bit messy. Players are battling annoying server instability and matchmaking errors this first week. Worse still for PlayStation 5 users, graphical and brightness settings are resetting to default every time you restart the console. A frustrating bug, sure, but the competitive meta remains incredibly exciting. Down to number 5, and it absolutely blows my mind how a game that originally dropped way back in March 2013 is still setting the gold standard for the free-to-play power fantasy. Warframe is an unstoppable juggernaut. If you want high-octane, acrobatic combat where you can wipe out entire rooms of enemies in seconds, nothing else even comes close. The sheer scale is ridiculous, with over 60 unique suits to master and dive deep into what the community lovingly calls fashion frame. The developers just dropped the Shadowgrapher update a couple of months ago in March 2026, adding Folly, a completely wild new frame that bends reality and controls crowds using literal ink blots. While hardcore veterans still debate the lack of traditional raid content, that specific design choice keeps the focus purely on accessible, fast-paced variety. The player base is massive, the community is incredibly welcoming to newcomers, and thanks to constant quality of life improvements, this sprawling sci-fi action RPG is better than it has ever been. Down to number 4, and we are talking about absolute unfiltered chaos. A lot of shooters try to sell you on destructible environments, but ripping a building down to its studs just to steal an objective is a level of adrenaline that rarely gets topped. Dropping onto the PS5 back on December 7th, 2023, the Finals built its entire identity on this high-stakes tactical destruction. Right now in May 2026, they are leaning heavily into that chaotic arcade shooter identity with limited time modes like Dragon Claim. You are literally fighting your opponents over a banner while a massive dragon aggressively rains fire from the sky above you. I do have to warn you though, the community is currently frustrated with the new player experience. Matchmaking loves to feed newcomers directly to high-level veterans without proper onboarding, and some lingering stability issues and sudden crashes can really kill your momentum. Still, if you can weather that brutal learning curve, the sheer dynamism here is phenomenal. Down to number 3 on our list is the reigning titan of open-world action RPGs, Genshin Impact. You might assume my patience for elemental combat and daily resource grinds would have completely evaporated by now. Yet the sheer scale Hoyoverse continues to deliver keeps dragging me right back in. Just keep in mind, if you are still rocking last-gen hardware, official PlayStation 4 support was permanently killed off last month on April 8th. It is strictly a PlayStation 5 affair on console now, but the timing to jump in is absolutely prime. Dropping next week on May 20th, the Luna 7 update introduces a brand new 5-star character named Nicole. Her charged attack actually summons a Seelie that acts as a real-time treasure radar, which is a massive win for exploration junkies. Yes, the community is currently having a massive meltdown over the version 6.6 reward structure, literally review bombing Hoyoverse on Google Maps because the free pulls will not guarantee a limited 5-star. Drama aside, the core loop remains incredible. Coming in at number 2 is Honkai Star Rail. Usually, slow-paced RPGs run the risk of putting me to sleep, but the sheer visual spectacle here completely rewires my brain. Developed by the creators of Genshin Impact, this sci-fi journey hit the PlayStation 5 back on October 11th, 2023, and it has maintained a ridiculously generous update schedule ever since. The combat is turn-based, but you are constantly kept on your toes thanks to the weakness break system. You have to meticulously manage your team compositions and juggle elemental damage types to shatter enemy shields for massive chunks of damage. When you finally trigger your squad's ultimate abilities, it is pure eye candy. These attacks play out like high-budget anime sequences that never get old, even on your 100th run. With top-tier production values for a live service, cross-platform title, this spacefaring narrative delivers a highly strategic experience that easily claims our runner-up spot. Taking our absolute number 1 spot is a title that completely redefines what a free-to-play game can feel like, Zenless Zone Zero. Released back in July 2024, this urban fantasy action RPG remains the undisputed king of style. A lot of free titles throw flashy visuals at you, hoping you will ignore shallow mechanics, but they actually built a world-class combat loop here that rewards rhythm over brainless button mashing. The entire flow hinges on the incredible daze and chain attack system. By landing precise strikes and perfect parries, you break an enemy's posture by maxing out their daze meter. Once staggered, the real magic happens. You trigger a chain attack, seamlessly tagging in different party members to unleash massive cinematic combo sequences. The production value is absolutely off the charts, It makes any typical gacha elements feel completely secondary to just how buttery, smooth, and high octane every single brawl feels. And that's our list for the 20 best free PlayStation games you can play right now as of May 2026. Whether you're looking for a competitive shooter or an immersive adventure, there is truly something for everyone on this list. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. What did we miss? Let us know in the comments below. Here are some more videos of ours you can watch. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.